Welcome back everybody to Monster Hunter World. Last time we got a bunch of optional side quests done in the Coral Highlands and a little bit in the Wild Spiral Waste. We did a lot last time. This time we'll be accepting the ballooning problem side quest to take down the Paolumu. And while we're preparing for this quest, in the meantime we switched to the Charge Blade. And during that I actually went and hunted a Gyrototus because the Charge Blade's a bit more of a unique weapon. I kind of want to go over weapon skills a bit more in detail now to kind of have more specific builds for skills that are reliable for each weapon. And the Charge Blade specifically really relies on what we have available to us right now is a skill called Artillery and Focus. Are both very good skills. Unfortunately, they are both locked to the pants slot of both weapons. So for that reason, I ended up going with the Gyrototus Greaves. And I ended up going with the Great Jagras Charge Blade because it's just a good damage one. But going up against Paolumu, before we even leave for this quest, I do want to mention and point out that if you want to use a weapon that's really good against Paolumu and use the Charge Blade, the Defender Blast weapons are great because Paolumu is very susceptible to Blast. You could also use the Hammer before as well because it's very weak to stun. You'd have to go with lower affinity, but I would also recommend a Fire Elemental weapon because that is the element that Paolumu is the most weak to. So those are all great choices. I'm just going to go with my generic Impact File Charge Blade, and that's about all we're going to do. So with that out of the way, we will talk to the handler and we will accept the Ballooning's Problem quest. Ballooning Problems. I'm sorry, I just retched thinking about that monster's face. Seriously, you'll be doing it a favor. And us too. Hunt it, and the airship engineer will have everything he needs. Hunt a Paolumu. Yeah, let's do this. We only have the one. I didn't actually make the one camp in Coral Highlands, but that shouldn't be too much of a problem. I don't believe Paolumu is located in that upper region of the Coral Highlands. But yeah, so and while I went with Focus is a phenomenal skill for the Charge Blade because the Charge Blade has files that will be going over in combat and in the field. And, well, it'll make sense. So with the Charge Blade, the important thing to note here is that it has files. So the Charge Blade is a very, very unique weapon. And I mean very unique. It doesn't function like anything we've used up till now. They're talking in the background, but they're not voiced, so it's not a big deal if I talk over them. So before we even head towards Paolumu, I want to go over this. The Charge Blade has two modes. It has a Sword Blade with a charge attack, which is great. And it's for these reasons I used Focus. As you attack monsters, so like if we fight these Kelby, they're the Kelby that's running away from me or whatever. But as you attack monsters, those little file things will increase and they'll fill. I'm doing a really bad job of actually hitting a monster. There we go. As you attack, they'll go from white to yellow to red. And when they are this red, they are full. Every attack you use will bounce off an attack. At that point, it's kind of complicated. You have to... The Charge Blade can guard because as you see, it's also a shield. If you hold R2, you'll guard. But while holding R2, if you hit circle, all of that energy that was stored into the blade will be put into those files. You'll fill the files. Very important. You have to constantly maintain that and keep up on that. This is a very complex weapon. It's very, very in-depth. And I'm not the best Charge Blade user, but if you can learn it, it is an insanely powerful weapon. Now with that, the focus skill that I went with on the Charge Blade is very important for the fact that our circle attack will charge a little bit faster, and our attacks will cause the file energy to store up a bit faster as well. All very important. Anjanath's Greaves have artillery, and we'll be going over artillery because when you expand the files, their impact energy, kind of like an explosive. Artillery literally says it increases Charge Blade file attack damage. We could only get level 1 of artillery from Anjanath's Greaves, and that will increase your file damage by 10%. While that is a very nice skill to have, and it is very useful, I find charging my files and my sword charge attack more important, so I went with Focus. Both are great skills. I'd recommend them both. It's whichever one you personally prefer yourself. And now we're just looking for these Paolumu tracks, which I think we have found where Paolumu is located. Alright, so Paolumu. Paolumu is almost like a weasel bat looking enemy. It is very, as I mentioned before the quest, it is very weak to fire, blast, and stun. Its only real weak point is its face. And honestly, it's kind of weird because it seems like it has two different weak spots, but it just highlights the face as the red spot. But that's alright. We'll deal with this. So, the Charge Blade has two modes. I've only been showing you the sword mode this entire time, but charge of fire energy. If you charge it and hit triangle, no? How do you do it? Oh, no. If you hit R2 and triangle, you'll morph into its axe form. Kind of like the Switch Axe. It has an axe form, but it's way slower and far heavier than the Switch Axe version is. It's kind of the equivalent of like the Switch Axe's blade mode. That's how slow it is. And we're not able to really hit Paolumu, unfortunately. Also, with Paolumu being a flying enemy, I would highly recommend using the Insect Blade for this quest, or even using the bow and arrow or the bow guns, because those are very good at hitting aerial enemies. I am not privy to that because I'm using the Charge Blade, but I can try to flint shot Paolumu to the ground. Big emphasis on try. And there we go. Paolumu will ground itself eventually. Now, these files are important. We're going to have one big method of attack. If you hit triangle and circle together, you'll kind of start going into what is referred to as an elemental discharge, where you'll kind of combine your sword and shield into the axe form and unleash all of your, like, a lot of your fire energy into one giant attack. But as you do that attack, if you hit R2 again in the middle of that, I'll show it again. You hit R2, it'll erase all of your fire energy, but actually power up your shield, which you can use your shield to block attacks, but some enemies have such powerful attacks, you are not able to block them. Charging up your shield actually makes your shield stronger, allowing it to actually block even more powerful attacks. So very good there. But there's also a sword icon next to the shield. I wonder what that does. When we get back to Paolumu, we'll go over what that is. And we haven't even done our big damage attack yet. We haven't even gone over why artillery is a great skill, but we're seeing why focus is great. It's searching our files quickly, and it's causing that double swipe attack to come out very quickly, and it's a very good attack. But what would artillery benefit? Artillery benefits the super amped elemental discharge attack, which whenever I can get Paolumu to land, which this is going to be a slight problem. If you do enough damage to like Paolumu's face somehow, it will get him to fall down, but it's really tough. Also, I'm falling on fire energy, so same thing. You have to store the energy, but if you hold triangle as well, well, we got interrupted there, but it actually charged our sword. In this version, even if we're full on energy, our sword will not bounce, and even if we hit a part of the monster that we would bounce off of, we will also not bounce either. It's very good. And it would be even better if I could actually get Paolumu back to the ground. My worst matchups are definitely flying enemies. I would recommend the Glaze because you can vault in the air to attack them. Bring flash pods from flash bugs I mentioned before, or using the bow and arrow or the bow gun. Those are all great weapons as well because they can shoot enemies from above. But I'm using a ground weapon, so I don't really have that option available to me. That's gonna make this quest significantly harder. If I can just hit Paolumu enough in the face. Let's get our shield energy back, because it's wearing off. They will flash as they start to wear off. Come on. Well, that missed, but that's the attack. Alright, I'm getting real annoyed from Paolumu flying. He's no longer aggroed, so maybe I can flinch on him back to the ground and then show you this elemental discharge, this SAED move the community has dubbed it. Alright. Alright, Paolumu. No, see, sometimes the flinch shot does not knock them to the ground. Sometimes it does. It's a little finicky. I can't quite explain how it works. It just works. I never figured out the science behind it, so... Dude, Paolumu's gonna get bored of us and peace out. Alright. Unfortunately, this is kind of the trials and tribulations of fighting a flying enemy. Alright. Now the Paolumu's down, let's actually get a mount and see what this looks like. And since it'll go down, I can use the SAED. I've been hyping this move up. It's gotta be great, hasn't it? It's gotta be some overpowered move that's gonna be super amazing. Oh. Oh, ZZ showed up. ZZ actually knocked Paolumu down for us by flashing it. That's what the flash pods would do. It ruined our mount. Alright. Paolumu moved, but that is the SAED. It is the most potent it would ever be when your shield and sword are both fully charged. Both of them. And it's the same thing. When you hit the triangle and circle together to do the discharge before. Yep. To use the attack to charge your shield. Kind of like this. Well, not like that. As I get hit trying to show this off. So instead of letting that attack fully play out, we cancel it. All it is it plays out that full animation in a bigger style. And Paolumu is very annoying. Trying to explain the charge blade in all of its complexity, is very difficult when I'm also trying to fight a very annoying, obnoxious flying enemy. I don't like Paolumu, and you'll see this as the series goes on. I don't particularly enjoy any of the flying wyverns. All of the flying wyverns are not my favorite. I do not do well with fighting flying enemies because I don't use the glaive as a main weapon, and I also do not use the bow weapons. So these are definitely my harder matchups. I like ground enemies a lot better for obvious reasons. Alright, Paolumu. Get up here and fight me. Luckily we're in an area where there's actually ledges. Come on. So it should be a little bit easier to take Paolumu down. We'll just hop off the wall. Like so. Just like that. And I actually soften up Paolumu's face, allowing us to get more damage off. Alright, same thing. And technically, you can get knocked off, which is a big problem, but you do have the clutch call, so even if you do fight a flying enemy, you can actually just clutch call a part of their body and just get some damage off. It won't be as much damage as normal, but it is a good way to reliably hit them in the air if you're not using a ranged weapon. I haven't been using that, I don't really know why. That's kind of my fault, but here we go. Alright, so Paolumu down. Let's do that triangle circle move and do this SAED. Now remember, artillery would up the damage of those attacks by 10%. 10% it would up it by. I'm going to keep these things charged because SAED is like the most reliable way to actually, is like the biggest damage output of the charge blade. It's the most complex move to use because it takes a lot of initial setup to activate, and you need good positioning because it is very easy to whiff the attack. And as you're obviously seeing, I am not the best charge blade player, sadly. I just rely on SAEDs, like, this might work. That got Paolumu, stunned him. And having your sword power up does actually give it a lot of stun potential and does more damage. The sword charge obviously lasts a lot shorter of a time than the shield does, but the sword is by far the more damage-oriented output, where the shield's more defensive. So this is a great weapon. The Charge Blade is great for playing offensive and defensive. There is a mechanic of the Charge Blade I'm not going to go into because I personally have never been able to pull it off myself. It's a thing called guard. I think it's guard points. If you certain animations of the Charge Blade put the shield in front of the hunter, and that actually allows you, if you can time an animation correctly, you can actually block an attack during another animation and cancel right into an SAED without even doing any of that other setup I've been doing. But I have never figured out the timing on those, and I do not know how to do them myself. So it is not a mechanic I can actually show you, nor can I, like, I can explain it, but there are professional speedrun Charge Blade players that obviously utilize that tech because it's very useful. So I highly recommend watching them or checking that out if you want to learn how to use guard points, or look up the Monster Hunter Discord community. I'm sure somebody there can give you advice or tips on how to use moves like that, but I am not that person, and I apologize. I tried practicing it at one point in my life, but I could never get it down. And Paolumu is almost defeated. Almost defeated. Not quite. Almost. So this is Paolumu's nest. He's gonna fly and be super obnoxious here. But you don't need files to actually charge the blade because it's actually your shield energy that charges your sword. So we can actually charge the sword without having to have files in our arsenal. So it's actually pretty cool. I probably should have waited to wait. I probably should have waited for Paolumu to be closer because, yeah. But with these tendrils, almost. I remember you can use the vines, but I missed that one because I was just a little bit too far out of range, out of my range. All right, will this mount finish him off? Let's see. It'd be really cool if the mount attack actually finished Paolumu off, because he is almost dead. It'd be really cool. Alright, let's do this. Oh, it did not finish him off. Charge of energy. This might finish him off. No! More health than I thought. See if we can get another SAD finish. Yeah, it takes a lot of wind up. There we go. Paolumu is defeated.
Nice work, partner. Let's hurry back to the research base. I'm starving.
Yeah, Paolumu is a tough enemy for me. For one, I don't overly use the Charge Blade. I tried it for a while. I could never really fully get into it because I'm just not. I'm not that style of player with like a shield. As you see, I just rely on SAEDs just to put out big damage and just tank everything else. Not really the best play style, but it works. But yeah, so hopefully that wasn't too bad. The Charge Blade, like I keep repeating, is an insanely complex weapon. It's not the easiest thing to grasp or even understand, and it takes a lot of practice. Like, I'm using it now, but I am far from a even moderately competent Charge Blade user, so if you want complexity and challenge, use it. If not, just use it for fun. You can use any weapon you want. Use whatever you think is the coolest weapon. At last. The balloons have been rigged and the ice ship is ready. All thanks to you and the ice ship engineer. We've completed preparations on our side as well. We can depart whenever you are ready. However, I do have one thing worth mentioning. We never bothered with a test flight. That's not going to be a problem for you, is it? When you're ready, just say the word, and we'll make our descent into the Rotten Vale.
Shouldn't you prepare before you head down to the Rotten Vale?
Speak to the Third Fleet Master. We have a lot of stuff to turn in, actually. So we're gonna... Actually, there's some people to talk to here. Airship engineer?
Right.
Oh, right. I meant to tell you. I was wandering the Coral Highlands looking for materials for the ice ship, and I got to thinking. It would be a lot easier to move around the Coral Highlands if I put together a rope lift. So I put in a request at the Resource Center for the parts I need.
I'm counting on you.
I think it'd make things a lot more convenient, so it'd be great if you could help out. I'm counting on you. What? Hey, look, a Shamo's hide. We only have one of those. We're missing some Shamo's hides. That's quite alright. Well, I say we head back to Astera and turn in some of our stuff and just see what we've got back in town. Alright, there's already some people to talk to. Hello.
Hello.
Hey you look like you're not doing anything. How about you take this job off my hands? The old lady at the botanical research needs some stuff for this fertilizer she's making, but as you can see, I've already got my hands full. Really? You do it for me? That's a relief. Glad you finally decided to pitch in around here. What the hell? Hey, we actually have one coral bone to get a catalyst. Alright, cool. Catalyst is just another one of those like kind of fertilizers you can use to like up either the speed of your harvest or the quantity that you receive. So let's turn some of these bounties that we got. We're also now at the point where we're getting armor sphere pluses. I didn't mention this, but armor spheres only give you 1 point, but the sphere plus we've been able to get and are more consistent now give you 5 points. So very good. Very good for upgrading your armor even faster, considering we got a whole nother level up. Don't worry about the limited one. That limited one is just part of right now, so like you can't do this one later. They just rotate daily, so for deliveries we actually have a lot of these we can turn in. The catalyst one we just got, we can turn that one in. To hold up a harvest, this one we got I believe a while back, and I had to fight the Juratotus to get the pants that we're wearing, so harvest box upgrade, go for it. Setting up camp in the Coral Highlands, this we had because we had that when we explored the Coral Highlands. We now have another camp to explore in the Coral Highlands. And a Fist of Fish, we got this one a while back as well, I just never turned it in. The Gaiju skins. And now we have a Shortcut to Happiness we just got. And Mushrooms, Nature's Smelly Bounty, a Mosswine Hide. I'll go over that one later. Near Camp 11 in the Ancient Forest, there's a kind of a grassy looking pig there that you can kill. And that thing drops the Mosswine Hide. We'll show that at some point later.
Good to see you.
Splendid. The 5th Fleet. Just what I was looking for. At present, we go-getters are studying the Paolumu's behavior. The 3 scholars have prepared to cross the Great Ravine and explore the Coral Highlands, if that's what it takes to pursue the Paolumu.
Good luck.
The quest is called White Monster for a White Coat. Any assistance you could give would be most appreciated. Ah, another new capture quest, Capture Paolumu. I'm not looking forward to that one because, yeah...
Hey.
We saw how that went. So, with the botanical research upgrading, cultivate, we now have a second row. We can now do 20 items, and we've now unlocked mite seeds, adamant seeds, fire herbs, flow fern, and ivy, flame nut / berry. These don't matter to us because we don't use the bow gun, but mite seed is probably one of the best ones in here because it can temporarily increase your attack power. Adamant seed, same thing, increases your defense power. Fire for crafting explosions, flow fern for making water ammo, doesn't matter to us, we're not using the bow gun. And then for fertilizer we got catalyst, speeds up cultivation so you can begin your harvest quicker, lasts for 4 quests, it just speeds up how fast we get stuff. It doesn't do anything here because time needed for Thunderbug is only 1, but let's see, if I do mite seed, that's fine. So catalyst will make it where every 1 quest will give us 4 instead of every 2. So it is pretty good. We'll do that since we're here. We'll craft some might seeds to maybe use those in the future. And other than that, we have to speak to the 3rd Fleet Master, but we will tackle that next time because that Paolumu quest was annoying. So next time on Monster Hunter World, we will speak to the 3rd Fleet Master and fly to the Rotten Vale by airship. I will show off the Paolumu armor in the end slate of this video, as I do with all future armors going forward. And other than that, if there is any armor specifically the Paolumu, I will show that we use or was beneficial to the Charge Blade in the next episode. Because going forward, I'll be showing and trying to use armor pieces that might not be the best defensively, but showcase some of the best skills for certain weapons that we're using, even ones we've already used that I didn't go over. So, until next time, I'll see you guys then.